have 6:30. I will call to order the regular meeting of the City of Cherry Hills Village City Council. This is Wednesday, December 8th, 6:30. And we will have a roll call of members, please, Laura.
Councillor Safavi?
Here.
Councillor Wheel?
Happy to be here.
Councillor Brown is absent. Councillor Gallagher?
Here.
Councillor Sheldon?
Here.
Councillor Blum is absent.
Thank you. That makes a quorum. Next, we'll have a Pledge of Allegiance, if we could all stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next up on the agenda is a police department presentation. This is a special day. Chief Tovria, you are up.
So if I could get Commander Weathers up here, please. Hi. So this is kind of a secret. I don't know if I've pulled it off, but I think when his wife showed up, it might have given it away. So I don't have a prepared speech for this. I think it's going to speak for itself. On the 16th of this month, in the year 2021, will be Pat's 40th anniversary here with the city. There you go. There you go. With the City of Cherry Hills Village. And, given time to any profession, whatever it is always, I think, amazing. Whether you're a doctor, it doesn't matter what you do, but you're committed, right? And to be committed to the law enforcement profession for 40 years is quite a statement. And to do so in this village since 1981, where he probably knows yourself, your grandparents, we probably better stop at that. I mean, but Pat's wealth of knowledge obviously has been an asset to both the city and the department for quite some time. So without further ado, we went out and picked something that I thought would be appropriate for Pat. He's my traditional guy, what can I say? So we got him a traditional policeman here. So this says, Commander Pat Weathers, in appreciation for your 40 years of service and dedication to the citizens and the police department of Cherry Hills Village, December 16th, 1981 to December 16th, 2001. Say one more thing. Yes. So obviously giving Pat this award, and I told you that I called his wife on the QT. I said this before earlier, we had a going away for Bob Burnett. No one does this alone, and Pat's wife Joanne has been around for an awful long part of this. I'm sure she's got stories that I really don't want to hear, but I suspect that maybe one day she'll share. So if we could give Joanne a round of applause too, because nobody does this by themselves. She's up here taking pictures. And Pat wanted to say a couple things.
Yeah, real quick. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. Quite an honor tonight for me. I got to thank the chief for doing this. This is quite a surprise and a very pleasant one. There's not many secrets I know that don't go on at the station. So for her to pull this off and also have my wife here for this, I thank you so much. Thank you for your kind words. I appreciate you always being gracious and the consummate police professional that you are. You know, I started here in 1981. I thought, oh, I'll stay here for a couple of years, get some experience and then go be a big city cop. Well, I found out real quick that, wow, this is a great place to work. The residents are friendly, they're supportive. The community itself is just a great place to work. So here I am today, and like I said, I appreciate all the support from my colleagues. I thank my colleagues back here for showing up tonight. I appreciate that. And then last but not least, there she is, to my wife, Joanne, for last 37 years, who's put up with me going out in the middle of the night and getting the 3 o'clock phone calls and all the missed holidays and birthdays and special events. Thank you for your support, understanding, and love. I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Commander. I guess the old saying is that records are made to be broken, but I don't know that this is one that's going to ever be broken. Thank you for your many years of service and excellent service too. Not just the years, but also the high quality of performance and service and dedication to our community. We very much appreciate it. All the citizens very much appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor, if I also want to just say real quick on behalf of the city, you know, it's interesting. It's the first time I heard the mayor or the chief tonight say that she wanted to have you committed, I think. Is that what it was? Or no, you are committed. That's right. But, you know, from the day I started, the number of residents that speak about you and that know about you and so glowing, it's clear the impact you're going to leave on this community. So I just want to say thank you on behalf of the city. And, you know, the next 40 are going to be just as fun.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you. All right, next on our agenda is audience participation. Laura, if we have any. All right, thank you. Seeing nobody has signed up, we will move on to the next agenda item, which is reports from city boards, commissions, and committees, and I don't believe there are any here. Next is consent agenda, item 7A and B. Do I have anybody want to remove anything, or I'll entertain a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to remove approval of minutes, number 7A.
Okay, remove 7A. I'll entertain a motion for 7B then.
Move to approve consent agenda item 7B.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, Mr. Sheldon, Councilor Sheldon?
Yeah, I just want to let the record reflect that I was not here at the last meeting on November 16th, and so I will be unable to approve the minutes from that meeting.
All right, we will let the record reflect that, and we'll take a vote then. I'll accept the motion to, otherwise.
Move to approve the minutes of the November 16 meeting.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3, we'll deal with the, with whether that's going to work for our city attorney. You're going to let us know later, whether that's a quorum or not, but I think that probably will suffice. Okay, next. Next item on the agenda is unfinished business, which is the 2022 proposed budget. And this is Director Sager. Okay, you have the floor.
Sorry, I'm waiting for PowerPoint. There we go. Good evening, Mayor, members of City Council. Before you tonight for discussion is the proposed budget on second and final reading. Staff has made several changes to the budget since first reading was held on November 16th. The reassessed property valuations came back slightly higher than preliminary valuations, resulting in an additional $403 in property tax revenue for the general fund. Per City Council's direction at first reading, staff has increased the cost of living percentage for all employees to a total of 2.5%. Eligible employees will receive an increase of up to 4% in 2022, which includes 1.5% increase for merit and 2.5% increase for cost of living. The general fund training line item was increased $10,000. This increase was due to a Parks Division employee that had requested the maximum amount for tuition in 2022 that will be moved to the Public Works Department at the end of this month. Based on labor and material projections for the City of Inglewood, staff has also increased the Public Works vehicle maintenance contract line item by $10,000. The Police Department training budget was reduced to $18,700, and the overtime budget was reduced to $55,415. Finally, staff received notice that the city's workers' compensation policy will decrease an additional $5,686, which equates to a decrease in general fund expenditures of $4,606. Including all the changes, the proposed 2022 budget has been balanced with revenues and expenditures totaling $7,654,296. This is a 4% increase from the adopted 2021 budget. The projected fund balance at the end of 2022 is $13.5 million. Similar changes were made to the Parks and Recreation proposed budget. The reassessed valuation provided by Arapahoe County increased the property tax revenue for the Parks and Recreation Fund by $411. The employee cost of living percentage was also increased to 2.5%, and the decreased workers' compensation policy reduced Parks and Recreation Fund expenditures by $1,080. The Parks Division training budget was also reduced by $10,000. 2022 expenditures total $2,736,520, which is a 3% increase from the adopted 2021 budget. The projected fund balance at the end of 2022 is $1.8 million. There have been no changes to the capital fund since the first reading. 2022 expenditures total $714,248, and the projected fund balance at the end of 2022 is $4.2 million. There have been no changes since the budget study session held in October to the smaller funds. With that, staff is available to answer any questions council may have at this time.
Okay, questions? Councilor Sheldon, any questions?
Real quick one. Did we decide to take a look at this year for this budget? And was it spoken about at all during the last meeting, the allocation that we charge off to Parks and Rec?
We did. We discussed that after the study session, and we left everything the same. We didn't see any other allocations that could be made to the Parks and Rec Fund.
And so that's maintained, I'm talking about that what we charge off, 19%?
19%, correct.
Okay.
We didn't increase that at all.
Okay. And that was after reviewing it to determine whether or not it needed to be increased at all going forward?
Correct.
Very good. Thank you.
Councilor Gallagher.
No questions, just a comment. Thank you very much for these adjustments, and I'm just pleased to see that the cost of living increased.
Councilor Wheel.
Thanks. No questions, but again, my compliments on a fine piece of work, fine job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Safavi.
No questions, and I echo what everybody else said.
Thank you.
If there are no more comments, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve Council Bill 14, Series 2021, a bill for the ordinance adopting a budget and levying property taxes for the city of Cherry Hills Village, Colorado for fiscal year 2022 on second and final reading.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, roll call, please, Laura.
Counselor Safavi?
Yes.
Counselor Wheel?
Yes.
Counselor Gallagher?
Yes.
Counselor Sheldon?
Yes.
All right, next up would be, I'll entertain a motion on item 9A2. Council Bill 15.
Yep.
I move to approve Council Bill 15, Series 2021, a bill for an ordinance of the City of Cherry Hills Village, Colorado, authorizing appropriations for fiscal year 2022 on second and final reading.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further comments or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Laura, roll call, please.
Counselor Safavi?
Yes.
Counselor Wheel?
Yes.
Counselor Gallagher?
Yes.
Counselor Sheldon?
Yes.
Okay, that passes unanimously. Next up is item 9B, which is Council Bill 16. And Director Sager.
Good evening again. There have been no changes to Council Bill 16, Series 2021, since the first reading was held on November 16th. If approved on second reading tonight, the adopted 2021 budget will be amended to include an expenditure of $22,821.75 in the general fund and $5,353.25 in the Parks and Recreation Fund for the public affairs consulting services performed in 2021. Staff is happy to answer any questions council may have.
Any comments or questions on this? Okay, none. I'll entertain a motion then on Council Bill 16.
I move to approve Council Bill 16, Series 2021, a bill for an ordinance of the City of Cherry Hills Village amending the 2021 budget and approving a supplemental appropriation in the general fund and the Parks and Recreation Fund for expenditures related to the Public Affairs Consultant Professional Services Agreement.
Second.
A motion and second. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, I'll entertain, this will be a roll call vote too.
Counselor Safavi?
Yes.
Counselor Wheel?
Yes.
Counselor Gallagher?
Yes.
Counselor Sheldon?
Yes.
Okay, that passes as well. And now we're moving on to new business. Council Bill 17 and City Clerk Gillespie.
Good evening, Mayor Stewart, members of City Council. We are once again visiting the Southmore Circle and Hudson Parkway General Improvement District tonight. For some background, this is 11 properties in the northeast section of the city who have joined to their intention to remove poles and bury an existing utility line. City Council, we received a petition that was deemed sufficient, and City Council held a public hearing on July 20th. The election was held on November 2nd. The ballot measures passed 21-0. And we're following state statute regulations here, so the next step would be to declare the General Improvement District organized, which is what this council bill will do. Tonight is first reading, and next steps are second and final reading on January 4th. Then the City Council will serve as the GID board. So we'll have 2 GID boards going on at once at that point. And then following that, staff will bring a supplemental appropriation to council to add a fund for the new GID to the city budget, like we did with Charlou Park GID. And staff is happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
We've only got a year or two now with the Charlou GID under our belts. Does staff have any comment about whether or not the annual fee that we charge to that district for management and maintenance of that fund,
The administrative fee.
is that in line, and do we need to increase our charge at all, or are we doing good on that?
I don't believe so. Once we get past the actual project stage and it's just in the maintenance stage, it's very little time on my behalf.
Okay. Okay, thank you. No further questions.
No
Councilor-
questions.
Any questions? If there are no other questions, I'll entertain a motion on Council Bill 17.
I move to approve Council Bill 17, Series 2021, declaring the organization of the Cherry Hills Village, Southmore Circle, and Hudson Parkway General Improvement District on first reading.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Hearing no further discussion, roll call, please, Laura.
Counselor Safavi?
Yes.
Counselor Wheel?
Yes.
Counselor Gallagher?
Yes.
Counselor Sheldon?
All right, moving on to the last item of new business, 10B, which is Resolution 33, Series 2021, approving a memorandum of understanding with Cherry Hills Land Preserve regarding Quincy Farm. And this would be City Manager Kramer, or?
Yes, that's right. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I am excited to present to you a resolution for consideration to approve a memorandum of understanding between the city and Cherry Hills Land Preserve. You might recall that on November 2nd, we had a discussion about what direction and memorandum of understanding could take, and we discussed 2 primary aspects of that night, which was that there would be an annual plan to be the vehicle by which City Council would then be a reviewing body instead of the more assertive or organizing body. So there was general consensus from council that night to move forward, and so a mere 1 month later, we are here with an MOU that we had a lot of very good conversations with the Land Preserve. We do have representatives from Land Preserve here tonight. They're not planning on presenting, but they are here available for any questions. But we did have quite a few productive meetings, and we were able to arrive at this MOU that is before you tonight. I'm not going to go through every last detail. It's a relatively short MOU. I will just highlight the components that make up the annual plan. It's program driven. So the programming will really help dictate costs. So the budget will be included, programming, the budget by the Land Preserve, which will include their contributions, their financial contributions to the project. But it also includes potential financial requests to the city, whether that is grant funding that we might be able to achieve, or capital funding requests. There's some other aspects of the MOU that talk about some of the efforts related to community awareness of the project that the Land Preserve will undertake, some of the volunteer aspects that they will take, as well as their contributions to the project. It is an MOU, it's not legally binding, but from my perspective to City Council, it's a significant milestone in that it symbolizes real direction and some unity on this project. And, again, I think staff would like to tip our cap to the Land Preserve for willing to invest the time that it takes to get to this point that we are here tonight. And so from my perspective, this project has a tone that it hasn't had in a few years tonight. We would be on, should this be approved, we would be on target for there to be a presentation or a plan presented by the Land Preserve after many conversations with the city in summer. I believe it's July of 2022. So should this be approved, we would likely start on working on that annual plan. One of the benefits from a staff perspective is that this allows for a more organic process that has a rate of change that is gives an opportunity for the site itself to really present what the opportunity should be based on experience and not on some master plan where we don't know how the interactions of all the various components might work together. So big picture staff is very supportive of this MOU, and we're certainly available, as is the Land Preserve, for any questions that council may have.
Very good. Any questions for City Manager? Councilor Sheldon.
Not so sure it's for city manager or maybe for the Land Preserve, but I guess, will there be, first of all, I guess, is this the document that you guys needed in order to get you comfortable of our partnership so that you can begin your fundraising? I just want to hear that this is going to kick it off once this thing's signed.
I think this document shows we're all on the same page, shared intent. This is really the handshake of we are going to collaborate. It sets a process. So we think the proposal that Chris has made makes a lot of sense. Chris and Emily have made, makes a lot of sense. That said, then of course we said we'd start off with the sort of awareness campaign and start building those relationships that we will need for that fundraising. And it will take time. Obviously, some of that fundraising it's not a one phone call.
No, I get that. I totally understand that. But this is really what you guys have been kind of waiting on this and pushing for this to get signed. And now that this is signed, I assume you guys are going to start advancing those discussions with your benefactors accordingly.
Yes.
Okay. And the only other question I have, and maybe it's not so much for Land Preserve, but for staff, is there any reporting requirements? I don't see any in here. So for instance, and you might want to stay up, I don't know if you want to answer this, but if in March the Land Preserve were to secure a $500,000 worth of donations, either one or multiple donations, I assume that it's just because it doesn't say in here what that process or procedure would be as far as reporting back and forth to each other on status, other than the July of each year annual plan for the next year. How are we going to manage that discussion, I guess? Is there going to be a protocol that you think we put in place?
I think there's two. One is outlined specifically in the MOU where it talks about the team that's going to be formed. We are structurally embedding the opportunity for an ongoing basis for that kind of communication, both with grants that we may be pursuing that we'd like their support on, and vice versa. Any significant opportunities they may have from a fundraising perspective, they can let us know. We're required to meet monthly at the least. We can meet more than that. The second is the annual plan itself. It can be also a look back. We've actually talked about the fact that the annual plan, as we get more sophisticated over time, it may turn into an opportunity for multi-year planning, where we look 2 or 3 years out and we say, okay, to do the investment to activate that and rehabilitate that structure is not a 1 year. That's a 3-year lift. And so this annual plan, I think over time, the first one may be rather modest. by design. But over time, I think the annual plan has an opportunity to look back a year and sort of say, all right, how did we do? The collective we, how did we do? And what lessons can we take for that for this year's annual plan, all the way to the next 3 years or 4, whatever it may be.
Sounds good. Thank you both.
Jenny, you've done a very good job, Land Preserve in general, you, Kathy, and your board, of putting together schedules of events. I'm assuming you've got the next year planned out from a scheduling standpoint, and maybe not the exact details of dates, et cetera, but yeah, we're going to do these activities. And,
We are working on that right now, but obviously we're going to continue. Yes, we have a good idea of the programs we want to continue, and we want to figure out which ones were most successful, why was that, and how do we make sure all the programs are that way.
Thank you. Can you talk about Colorado Open Lands and just the interaction of, and what do you see coming down the pike?
Well, I think part of the reason we want to get this MOU is just that agreement of shared intent. We're working together, and I think one of the priorities then will be with Chris and Emily approaching Colorado Open Lands to clarify the permitted uses, because then we can plan.
Yeah, great. Good. That's it. Thank you.
Councilor Wheel?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Details, we'll get a lot. I mean, I read the letter of intent, good document, but it's kind of like intention, MOU. Kind of like intention, not binding, all that. Somewhere, I think we need to continue to drive for detail and specificity. We see some of that, see first iteration of that in the annual plan. Is that the idea?
I would agree. The first iteration of the annual plan will be the next step. But you might recall from our conversation on November 2nd, we talked a little bit about what the MOU is in relation to the overall dynamic between the land preserve and the city. I think moving forward, to get more specific, we are going to start looking at an annual plan that starts off rather modest but gets more complete or thorough over time, as well as contracts. There's frankly going to be the opportunity / need for various contracts addressing or covering various specific points of the relationship that we have. Before moving into a multi-million-dollar rehab project for a building that we own that they may be programming, there might need to be a contract for that. If there's it's not a night watchman, it's a caretaker. If we have the need for a caretaker, there might need to be a contract for that. So all of those are, I guess, opportunities for getting more specific. This is the first step.
Yeah, and I'm absolutely supportive of this, so it's not like I'm discouraged or I am more in the space of we need to get this moving more rapidly, more details, flesh it out, go, et cetera. So that was one question. The other question that crossed my mind is that I saw the words program-driven several times, and yet I think there are going to be situations where the roof is leaking in this building and we're not intending to use that at this moment, but we don't want the progressive damage that will occur if that roof continues to leak. So maybe we need to re-roof or whatever, Is there, how will we deal with those, say, non-program specific needs that are out there and potentially very real?
Great question, and we've spent some time talking about that with the Land Preserve. We have increased our budget, as you just approved a few minutes ago, for increased funding for, I would call it more than maybe just maintenance. It's doing some deferred maintenance that needs to be done on some of those types of things. So I think there is a recognition by the MOU and our conversations with the Land Preserve that there will need to be some investments by the city for stopgap measures to make sure that buildings aren't starting to lose their value the historical value or otherwise. And again, we're doing that with the weed consultants and things like that. So there's absolutely built into this the opportunity for the city to help do that. Once it starts transitioning into more of a rehab project, right, that's where we would want it to be driven by the programming. Where that line is exactly, we'll be working on that throughout this process. It probably will be different for different structures, depending on what the needs are. So it would be great to have that crystal clear definition here tonight, but I don't think that's realistic. And I think our relationship that we're building and agreements like this will help us navigate that relatively well as those various issues come up.
Thank you.
Councilor Safavi.
So first of all, I'm in favor of this memorandum. So the comments that I'm about to make is not that I have any issues with the memorandum. I view this simply as a handshake, as a start, that we're going to be working together. And that's it, at a high level. In terms of, I want to go back, and again, maybe I've mentioned this before. For this property, in order to do what we need to do, we need money. That's the reality. There are, again, buildings, areas that are deteriorating, and they need to get fixed. So for me, I will really like to see, after this handshake, a solid plan in terms of what is priority number 1, 2, 3, and how much does it cost. And I don't know if it's a fair request to say on a monthly basis to see how much fundraising is actually being done, or at least on a quarterly basis. This is how much we have raised. Because I don't want to, on a quarterly basis, I personally like to keep an eye on how much money coming in, how much we need to, compared to the total, what is the fund that is needed for that particular year. And if the money's coming in, they're doing a great job raising, awesome. But if all of a sudden we go 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, and we're so below of the fund that is needed to actually move this and get the job done, then we need to look at a closer look at this, right? We went last year through an entire year, going through a couple proposals. We went with this proposal from Land Preserve, and that's good. Now you have a memorandum that gives you the freedom to go to the donors and say, we're working with this city. So you have it now, once we approve it. So I'm really curious to see how that will go. I'm going to be very positive about it, but for me personally, I'm going to look at it very closely as well to see what those numbers are going to look like. Thank you.
Thank you, council members. I would just add that this is terrific. I'm pleased that this has come. I couldn't be happier. I think this is the best kind of organization to get a nonprofit local organization to partner with the city. I think was the view of most of the visioning committee, and I think it's been the view of a lot of us for many, many years. So this is terrific. I like everything about this. My only suggestion is I think we need to get out there and increase the visibility of the land preserve and get more members on the land preserve and really, as you said, that's really the task now, because this is a big deal, and land preserve is going to step up from its former role of modest role into a real important role, and so we need to really reach out to the community and get support. And I'm happy to offer my services however I can, as far as contacting people, talking to people, and promoting this MOU and this collaboration with the land preserve. So I'm very pleased. Anything else here? If not, I'll entertain a motion. This is just a resolution, so it's just a voice vote. So I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve Resolution 33, Series 2021, approving a memorandum of understanding with the City of Cherry Hills, with the Cherry Hills Land Preserve regarding Quincy Farm.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion or comments? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Sounds like you have a unanimous resolution there. Congratulations to the Land Preserve. Thank you very much for all your work and time on this issue. I really appreciate it.
Thank you all, and we look forward to getting started planning in earnest.
Okay.
Go, go, go.
Achievement targets.
Thank you. Next, we'll take a recess from the city council, regular city council meeting and move into a meeting of the Cherry Hills Village Charlou Park Third Filing General Improvement District Board. So I will now call to order that board. Laura, if you could have a roll call, please.
Board Member Safavi?
Here.
Board Member Wheel?
Glad to be here.
Board Member Brown is absent. Chair Stewart?
Yes.
Board Member Gallagher?
Yes.
Board Member Sheldon?
Yes.
Board Member Blum is absent.
Good. First item for business of the district is the approval of the minutes from November 16th, 2021.
I need to pull the 13A, please.
Okay, you bet. And Councilor Gallagher, do you have something else? Okay, yeah, let's just go ahead and, actually, go ahead and, I assume it's because you were not.
That's all. I
attended.
just want to make note that I was not here, and therefore I'm not going to be voting on the approval of minutes.
This was record reflect that Councilor Gallagher was not here, so this.
Sheldon.
Sheldon
Okay.
Sheldon was not here, but all the rest of us were, I believe, so we can all vote. Any other comments about the minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the consent agenda, item A.
All in favor? Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Next, unfinished business, proposed budget for 2022, and this is Director Sager.
Yes. Good evening, Chair Stewart, members of the board. Before you this evening is the proposed 2022 budget for the Charlou Park Third Filing General Improvement District. There were no changes to the GID's budget since the public hearing was held in November. The mill levy for the fund will still be certified at 16 mills, equating to $36,761 in property tax revenue for 2022. Total expenditures will be $32,525, and the projected fund balance at the end of 2022 will be $63,795. Staff is available to answer any questions council may have at this time, or the board may have at this time.
Any questions for staff? Councilor Gallagher? No?
No question.
I'll entertain a motion then.
I move to approve Resolution 3, Series 2021, a resolution of the Cherry Hills Village Charlou Park Third Filing General Improvement District Board of Directors summarizing expenditures and revenues, adopting a budget, setting the mill levy, and appropriating funds of the GID for the calendar year beginning on the first day of January 2022 and ending on the last day of December 2022.
You have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second, any further discussion? If not, this is a voice vote, all in favor? Aye. That passes unanimously. New business, I take it there's none unless anybody speaks up now. So move adjourn. I can actually move to adjourn. I will move to adjourn this meeting of the board. Motion a second, all in favor? Aye. The meeting is adjourned. We're reconvening now back into the regular meeting, the Cherry Hills Village City Council and reports. And I will be brief because I know we have members who need to move on and staff. I just wanted to say I had a mayor's lunch today and with the new mayor from Littleton, Kyle Schachter. So he was formerly on council, but he's now the first elected mayor ever from Littleton because they had always appointed theirs before. So he sounds very, very good and very enthusiastic, and they have a lot of things going. Talked to Mayor Pico, and Mayor Lance was there as well. Mayor Pico mentioned that they have they're getting funding for their big park, Dove Valley Park, which is actually a very big thing. It's a regional park, and a lot of soccer is played there, and it's very heavily used. It hasn't really been improved in a long time, but that's a $14.5 million project. So, and the city of Centennial is contributing, and so is OSTAB, the Arapahoe County, and that was OSTAB approved the money last night or on Monday, and a recommendation to the city commissioners to fund that. So that's going to be a big improvement to that regional park. It's actually in property that's going to be annexed soon to the city of Centennial. It's right now in Arapahoe County. Dove Valley, it's by the Broncos training facility, kind of in that area down there. So I met with CML here. Is good news on our proposal and the XL issue of undergrounding. As you recall, there's a Colorado statute that that prohibits competitive bidding for Xcel's undergrounding projects. So we have brought to CML, actually Cherry Hills Village is the sponsor of legislation to CML to eliminate that provision and require, at least allow, but probably require, well, so we're talking terms, competitive bidding for Xcel's undergrounding projects. Interestingly, the very first conversations we had, they agreed. So they will be in agreement with changing the statute and saying, allowing competitive bidding on their projects for undergrounding, which is a big deal for us, for everybody else. Mayor Pico, Mayor Lance, Mayor Sheridan, Mayor of Littleton, they're all very much aware of this and very much supportive. It passed on the policy committee unanimously, I believe. We're having the CML board tomorrow, we're having a meeting which will finalize it. We've already rounded up sponsors, legislative sponsors to work on it, and we'll just be working out the details. So that's a big thing going forward. There's been lots of concern about the transparency of Xcel's projects and what's going on and how we're spending this money and what's happening. So in particular, with more money potentially coming down through the federal government is a big deal, and it's good news all around, and everybody's very, very pleased. And I think that's about it. That's my report, and I'll keep it short there, and we'll move on. Any other council reports?
A question for Jessica. We're finishing in the black at roughly 1.8 million. Where does that stack up against other years?
This year's slightly higher than before. I believe we were at 1.6 in 2020, so we're at about 1.8 I'm projecting right now.
Okay. Yeah, just great news. End of report.
Councilor Will.
Thanks. Couple of things. We've talked at times about the Bellevue Median project. That is, I believe that the Homeowners Association board is on board and has the votes, but they want to bring it to the annual meeting of the homeowners. The meeting is, they've tried to schedule it several times, and somewhere between confusion and communication issues, the venues sort of passed in the night with the needs. I believe in the middle of January now, there will be a Zoom meeting rather than an in-person meeting, and the topic will be discussed. So should have something late in January in terms of some feedback on that project and where they are. With respect to DRCOG, variety of different things, but nothing particularly bearing on Cherry Hills Village. However, there was a lot of discussion about in-person meetings. There's an awards banquet that they have, and also we have been meeting virtually still and continuously throughout the COVID process. And just by way of information, the thought now is let's continue to meet virtually, and somewhere January meeting we'll know a lot more about Omicron and whether that's a serious threat and not as serious a threat as it might be, and then they'll start contemplating if the cloud lifts, they'll start to contemplate in-person meetings rather than virtual. That's all I have.
No report.
City Manager.
I will let staff provide any updates first.
Just real quick, we had the organizational meeting for the 285 congestion study meeting that we are doing today. So that was the kickoff meeting today. Inglewood is the sponsor of that. We are a financial contributor. I will be updating council on that. There will be a lot of public input and stakeholder meetings. So I will bring that information forward in a timely fashion.
That's great to know. Thanks. Also on Quincy, any report on it looks like progress on Quincy for undergrounding?
Yes, they continue to move forward. We hope to have the poles down before the end of the year. But as we know, they were supposed to have them down before the end of last year, so, but they are continuing to move forward right now, so we're seeing good progress.
I just have a few things. A reminder that recreation reimbursements are due on January 15th, no exceptions. So if anyone has any receipts to turn in, please get those in soon. And an update on our public affairs consultant process. The focus groups are complete and those went well. We heard that our consultant got a lot of good feedback from those two groups and they were well attended. The next step is a polling survey, phone survey. So the consultants right now are working on a draft of what the questions will be, and then work with staff on getting those finalized with the idea that the poll will be fielded in early January, and the consultants will have a final report in time for your February 1st City Council retreat.
Again, briefly, the community survey for the master plan closed on November 30th. There were over 460 responses received, which we are very thrilled with. The consultant right now is going through and consolidating a lot of that information in order to determine kind of how we present that and what Planning and Zoning Commission and the Citizen Advisory Task Force and how we take bites at that apple. Additionally, we staff will be before you January 2nd, I believe, 4th. The first meeting in 2022 to give council just a high-level update of where we stand in that project and kind of some of the feedback we've heard, at least initially. So, in a study session, that's right.
And that's so 460. Is that those aren't households? Those are just individual respondents. Do you have any idea how many households that represents?
No.
It's still a lot.
A lot of them came in online, and so
Okay.
who knows?
So I can tell you we mailed right around 2,200 surveys via physical mail, and the responses of the 460 include both paper and electronic copies. So
Still a great response rate for any kind of survey.
we're thrilled with it.
I think that's another example of my long and growing list of examples of why Cherry Hills Village is such a great place to work. That kind of engagement is not normal, and that's a good thing. That's just a tremendous response. Just two quick updates for council. We did have interviews for a recruitment firm for the police chief position. We have just a little bit of work left on that, but we are on target to have a contract before you on January 4th. And I think we'll have an opportunity to maybe do some background work with whoever gets selected before then, so we won't be waiting until January 4th. So that's progressing well, and I think that's really good news. Also, Councilor Wheel mentioned meetings and virtual meetings, and I do know there is just a few, it's just a couple, but there are a couple of metro area communities that are going to remote council meetings again. A majority are still staying in person. If council wanted to go to a remote council meeting, I just want to remind you that I ended the emergency order. So we would either need to redo another emergency order to allow for a remote meeting, or we need to change the rules for the council meeting process. Either way, we just need to take some steps before that happens. So if that is something council wants to consider, let me know with a little lead time so that we can figure out how we can best do that.
Irrespective of my personal position on it, may I suggest that maybe you send out an email to the council on that, since we have two council members not here?
Sure. Yeah, and we'll maybe even ask for a little feedback from folks.
Yeah, are there southern? Who are the ones that are going remote? I'm just curious.
Northern.
That's what I think. Southern, basically, that might.
I've heard of two and one that's contemplating it, but yeah, they're northern.
All right. Any other? City attorney, of course.
Just real quickly, you have a white box on your desk, and that's just a small token of happy holidays from us. We're so happy we continue to be able to serve you guys and to work with your wonderful staff. We wish you all a very wonderful holiday season.
That's a good point. This is our last meeting in 2021, so happy holidays to everybody, whatever occasion it is, whatever holiday you celebrate, or if you celebrate them all, many. Have a happy one, and we look forward to a Happy New Year. We'll see you in 2022. And thank Thank you to the villager. Thank you for all the work you do too, and your work reporting. We appreciate it very much. Okay. I'll take, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right. Without any opposition, then we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.